The Renaissance was a time of art and culture, rebirth and renewal. Many famous pieces came out of this period. Today we're going to talk about one in particular, which you probably haven't heard of before. The Tower of Babel by Pieter Bruegel. I bet the first thing that came into your mind was a bunch of people babbling like idiots, and you're actually not too far from the fact of the matter. This painting is based off of a Bible story, which goes something like this. King Nimrod was the ruler of Babylon. He commanded his builders to create a massive structure in his honor, high enough to reach the heavens, so that he could cast down God himself from his throne above. But of course, God was having none of that. So after a few years of building, when the tower had gotten quite tall, God sent down his divine intervention, scrambling the languages of all the people in Babylon. They could no longer understand each other, and the construction had to stop. That's the basic story, and this painting is based off of it. Take a minute to appreciate the incredible attention to detail in this painting. Hundreds of men doing their individual specific jobs, way too many to count. Every aspect of construction has been covered in this painting. The supply of bricks from the harbor, the cranes and scaffolding, and the realistic foundation and architectural style of the building. Bruegel also uses the techniques of scale and proportion to give the tower an aura of power and majesty, as it totally dwarfs all the other buildings and castles in the background, which, by the way, are incredibly detailed as well. King Nimrod is most likely supposed to be the man in the foreground, with a crown and scepter, and a peasant kneeling at his feet. But he doesn't really look like the mighty king of Babylon, more like a simple noble or duke that cares more about himself than the people he commands. Come to think of it, this doesn't really look like Babylon at all. Notice the sailboats and pulleys. The Babylonians probably didn't have those. That's because this is set in a Flemish city during the Renaissance. That's a little odd, right? Well, Bruegel was known for modern interpretations of biblical stories, where he would use relevant modern-day symbolism to make political statements. In this painting, a famous biblical scene is transformed into the daily grind of peasant life, with thousands of men toiling away doing their jobs. This represents the humanist movement, as it makes an important religious text more corporeal and earthly. In addition, turning King Nimrod into a dignitary says something more about Renaissance government than a mighty king would have, because there weren't any mighty kings left during the Renaissance. But there's also a lot to be said about the main focus of the painting, that is, the tower itself. It's absolutely massive, even in its unfinished state. The most interesting thing about it is the fact that it looks like it's crumbling, even as it's being built. What does this mean? Maybe it's a sort of foreshadowing, hinting at the futility of the whole project, that the tower is doomed to failure. But let's go deeper. Maybe this whole scene is symbolic for how Bruegel saw the world. Man working endlessly on grand ventures just to see them all fail, to see everything destroyed in the end. Well, that took a dark turn, but let's change the subject. Pieter Bruegel was from the Netherlands, and he was considered the best Dutch painter of the 16th century. Not a lot is known about his life, and even less about his early life. But we do know that in 1551 he took a pilgrimage to Italy, and he spent 2 years in Rome, learning from other famous artists of the time. However, he never used the classic Italian Renaissance style of painting. Instead, he stuck to painting in the Flemish style, favoring wide-open landscapes like we see in the Tower of Babel. Today, this painting can be found in a museum in Vienna, where thousands of patrons see it every day.